Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Naka Design. I'm so glad you're here. I am beginning a new project, and I wanted to, I hope that you join in with me and craft along. Now, if you've watched me for any length of time at all, you know that I love concertinas or accordion journals. I think that that they're really easy. I think that they have a lot of potential, in terms of decorating and so on. And I think many people, depending on what your base paper is, use them as decorative elements on a bookcase. So in other words, standing up, partially open. So if you intend to craft along with me, let me tell you what is required. Now, I suppose I could have gathered up some concertinas that I've made and shown you that, but again, maybe I will in the next episode. So you need paper of some sort. Now, the thing that I'm using, and of course, if you want to make exactly the same project, it's available to you as well. It is from my one of the latest digital kits that I have uploaded. The subject matter is Aesop's Fables, so we know those sorts of life lessons. It's really ancient wisdom, and because these images are so old, the approach I'm going to be using is sort of a grungy one. So you'll even see me ink, I'm sure. So basically, in order to make the size, more manageable, I printed them 2 to a page. And just to save time, I have cut around one set of them, which means I could make another identical, or I could use this second set of images, obviously, for the same sort of project or for something totally different. These ended up being, I think, 5 3/8. Yes, tall. And see, the proportions on this, well, and I can't see just one image. And pretty well the same, so it's square. So it didn't lay out particularly well to do spreads, so that's why I'm improvising with this. So what I did, as I said, printed them on cardstock, sort of an ivory color. Cut those using my paper trimmer. Now, I don't think that they're exactly perfect, despite my best intentions. However, I think the difference is minuscule enough that it's not going to matter. And I will have an opportunity to adjust, if necessary, when I've got the pages attached to each other. This maybe is the little culprit here that's the shortest. So naturally you would, if micro measurements matter to you, then naturally you'd line it up to your shortest piece. Okay, so if you want to use this particular kit, it is available both, well, let's say in my coffee shop for sure. I haven't decided yet if I'm putting it on Etsy. So whether you use my kit or something else that you already have, it's immaterial. I do think, though, that it should, whatever it is you're using, should be on heavier paper. So there's that. For the purpose of the video, I will be using art glitter glue, so you could use something equivalent. A glue stick would work, but there's a potential for well, slower grab time, and also maybe a little bit more mess, but that's okay. Use what you have. And I'm doing this because of the video, because it's quicker. Now, the thing that makes accordion books, concertinas work are the hinges. So I looked through, and I have 11 pages here, and I believe, if I am remembering clearly, that you need an odd number so it, works out the way you want it to. So the thing that, okay, if I want this, and I chose this peacock one because it's beautiful. Now, again, most of these pages have a lot of color to them. Well, maybe not a lot of color, but a lot of design to them. And I chose this one for my back cover. So really, if a person didn't want to decorate this hardly at all, that would easily work with this kit. So basically, once I determine this is my front cover, the other one is my back cover, it doesn't really matter what I choose next. So the way this works is that the hinge, and I've used, let me just show you, because I kind of glossed over that part. These are sort of the binding strips that would have held together a vintage or possibly antique scrapbook that I deconstructed some time ago. So I've got lots of them and I use them periodically. Let me just open one up. It is actually doubled. And you can see that there are holes where it would have been sewn. So all I did was I measured. I don't know if I have enough even, but anyway, that's fine. You don't need to see me attach every single one. 5 3/8 tall because I wanted it to be the entire height. Now, if you wanted your hinges to be shorter, that could be a design choice as well, but I wanted them full height. So 5 3/8. And I basically, so I marked it, cut it, opened it up, and then just tore down the middle. Now, I suppose I could have been, especially since grunge is the order of the day, I suppose I could have been a little more, I could have torn my cuts here. I could have torn instead of cutting, and then I'd have kind of a more, raggedy look. Now, if you probably, or you may not have this kind of paper, it doesn't matter. Pick whatever you want. Because I'm doing, this is going in the grungy direction, if I didn't have this, I would probably be picking coffee dyed paper or like a craft colored cardstock. You could use washi tape, but of course you'd want to make sure that you glue it well. You could use fabric strips like muslin. So, I mean, there are choices for sure. So don't feel that you can't participate in some way because you don't have the things I've mentioned. Substitutions, unlike in some restaurants, are encouraged. So let us begin. I've said that I want my first page to be this peacock one. So we know that a typical book opens like so. So what I'm going to do to make sure that the glue is where it absolutely needs to be is add it to the hinge, not to the piece of paper. And with art glitter glue, if you've never used it before, it is pretty well instant grab. So be pretty sure what you're doing when you lay it down. Now, I think doing as I say, not as I do, I got a little too close to the seam there, or to the fold. So let's just do that again. Because, I mean, this is the whole idea here is that these hinges are how this whole thing is going to work. So I'm going to, this time, have a little more of a gap. Whoopsie. And of course, because the backside of each of these images is just a beautiful cream color cardstock, there is all that opportunity to decorate. Okay, so this is my cover. So now I attach my next piece here. So we know that, okay, this printed blank, we probably want this to be printed as well. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. This is what we want, or this is what we want. So am I confusing myself or am I confusing you? So let's just think this through before I glue something in. I'm just trying to separate another page here. So this is, we're going to be actually making a, let me cover this up while I explain. I can aim it in there. Okay, so this is what we are aiming for. Zigzag, zigzag. So this one will go this way. So like so, I'm choosing to alternate print, solid, and so on. So that's why now I'm always going to be adding the glue, and that's probably good advice, I would say, overall. How do you like that? I gave you some good advice. By adding the glue to here, if I pick up the piece of paper wrong, I still have a moment, a second or two, to figure out, okay, what it is. Number one, make sure it's right side up, but also that it is positioned the way I want it to be. Now, you don't have forever with art glitter glue, but you do have a wee bit of time. Now, for a more finished look, eventually I'll come back and cover this up with another strip. But for now, that's what we have. So then the next section, the next page, will be added to this second one. Again, make sure it's right side up. And then this is what we're going to have here. So just to keep a little bit of a flow going, I'll add my glue to one side of this. And again, somehow it seems easier to me to do it as I'm doing it, so I can see sort of the back side, because then you can see if you're leaving that little bit of a gap. I could have done it from the other side, but then you're kind of working blind in a sense. Okay, so now, again, right side up, we want this one to be attached this way. So we are making a zigzag. So we're on a roll here. Let's keep going. Now, I didn't really want to do, this ahead of time. Whoops, we want this to be the white side, or the back side, I mean. And, yep, still right side up. Again, you just need a hair's breadth of space. Okay, let's double check our work before this gets too set in stone. So now we know that the next page is going to be attached this way. Now, of course, if I was doing a different version, you know, a different sort of a layout, I could make sure that, suppose you had, maybe you were using thinner paper, so you didn't have a nice blank backside to your images. You could, in fact, have color images, whatever, digitals, book page, you know, whatever, on both sides. It's just, this is how I wanted to do it. This is how the kit lent itself to being done. Let's pull a little back. So that, again, plenty of room to add pockets or whatever. Like, I do want this, for the most part, to be readable. Now, there might be some stuff covered up here, but hopefully that's not going to take away from the readability or the understanding of the actual story. Because I think that this is classic wisdom. And when something endures for hundreds of years, you know, I think we can probably safely assume that there's some truth to it. So we will keep going. I should see how the time is holding up, though. Oh, I did want to point out, let me just cover this glue. I did want to point out that these were the strips. Where did I put the rest of the kit? That's my shopping list. These were the strips that I cut off each side. So naturally, I'm saving them because, number one, they're cardstock, and number two, they're a beautiful color. So things like this obviously can be stamped or stenciled or whatever, and used or cut into, you know, thirds maybe to be the base of a snippet, not a snippet, a cluster. So obviously, I think we all know you don't throw it away. I just did want to mention that if somebody's brand new. Okay, how are we doing for time? 18. Well, I can do a few more pages. And I think that please don't be intimidated or baffled by anything I'm showing you here. My advice would be just take your time. Double check. It's going to take less time in the long run to double check, number one, that your pages are all facing the right side, if they in fact are directional, like mine are. We don't want anyone to have to stand on their head to read a fable. So, you know, take that extra second. It'll be quicker in the long run than having to, you know, rip apart and redo. Or do some other remedial solution. Okay, and again, pretty easy because I've chosen to printed solid. Now, if you were doing something that is totally like printed on both sides, you may have less opportunities for decorating, but you also have, unless it's a very prescribed pattern that you were hoping for, you do have more opportunity to shake things up a bit and not have to worry too much about, oh, that's not what I intended to put there. I just love this imagery. Like, it is so, I mean, I don't like those mice, but yeah, just so pleased with them. And, even though they've used very few colors in the illustrations, they're soft enough that they kind of work with both the sort of the rusty color and the blues. And it just has, well, I mean, I should stop gushing. I don't need to try to convince you. Either you like it or you don't. I happen to think it's gorgeous for all the reasons I've stated, but most especially for the inherent message. Okay, are we still all facing the right way? Yes, we are. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. I hope that 11, see, I've forgotten that part. I haven't done an accordion or concertina for a little while. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong number. It's just that, if you had if you had 2 images in mind for a cover, we'll see. I guess it would have been good for me to figure that out before I turn on the camera. But we'll see. We can find this out together. It does go quickly. Oh, this may be my last strip. I will have to cut some more. Whoops. Because I forgot that I have to double up by doing the insides or the opposite side as well. It's kind of nice that these hinges that I managed to use are virtually the same color as the paper. Okay, let me see. Okay, that one is good. There was one that was torn, so I won't use that one. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut some more. This is my last one. Or end the video here, one or the other. So if you, and I hope you are sold on doing this, if you are wanting to participate, there will be at least one more video, kind of a decorating one, although, you probably have your own ideas about decorating and don't need to hear mine. Okay, I'll do the last one that I have, and then I'll basically show you where we're at, and I'll be able to figure out how many more of these strips I need. I do have shorter ones because I was using this sort of stuff, these hinge papers, on something else yesterday. Now, probably what I'll do before we get together again is also ink, all the folds and the tops and bottoms. Now, well, I'll tell you that when I show you something in a minute. Know that that's the greatest fold ever, but and of course I'm using what I have. So if these original hinges were not folded exactly perfectly, well, that's what I'm stuck working with. And we know that whether we're using a ruler and a pencil or a grid, excuse me, excuse me, or a grid on our cutter, there is very little in this world that is absolutely precise. Okay, so let's pretend that this is where we want it to stop. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it looks like we need an even number because, okay, if I did that, then I did, no, that, and then I did that. Okay, let's just pretend. Maybe I'll stand it up this way. It would be easier to envision. Okay, so that's where we left off. So then this, whoops, this needs to go this way. This needs to go this way. This, and that was my back cover. Oh, well, no, that's, I'll end up with 2 printed ones together. But, okay, this is my house of cards. We'll see how long it'll stand. So this is how it would end up being. Which means that when we squeeze it all together and turn the book over, this becomes my front cover. So I go like this, and we end up with 2 of those together. Well, this, I mean, you have to envision that. Here's where you start seeing it open as it should. And then you end up with that as the back cover. So that looks like, okay, what did I say? Were we at 9 here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, we were at 8. 9, 10, 11. So we need an odd number. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to stop there. But after I turn the camera off, I'll continue to make the hinges. And then I will look through this book and see where I need, pretend this is the right length. Oh, this is doubled up, this is doubled up. Well, let's use this torn one, just for demonstration purposes. I would go over and finish off all the open joints, so to speak. So there, 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 and all the way through until they're all done. And that way you kind of have a finished edge. Although, I wonder how is it that I have, I must have done something goofy that I ended up putting that on the, oh well, I guess it doesn't matter. And I suppose the other design choice here is also, maybe you don't want the same sort of hinges on both sides. You know, so if I had a beautiful washi tape that would go perfectly, and perhaps I do, I could have done the alternate, or the other side with washi tape instead. But because of this little guy here, that option is no longer available to me. So that is all I have to say today. Again, remember this kit will be available, or is available in my, that's my back cover, is available in my coffee shop, Hazel and Aka Design. Most of my digitals are on Etsy. I haven't migrated them over to coffee. I don't know if I will. I do want to point out that recently I did go through my listings on Etsy, and I dropped the prices on digitals to about half. So that's just the nature of how digital pricing is going these days. So if you had your eye on something and thought, now may be the time to pick it up. In the meantime, I'm going to be cutting more hinges. I hope that you gather up your supplies, and then when we next get together, I and you and I can decorate together. And I'm going to be inking. I will probably also, I will also gather up some vintage book page, probably some coffee dyed. I'll be basically looking through my scraps to pick other grungier, vintagey looking items to decorate these naked sides. Again, probably not going to go over the top with anything, but you know, I'm sure as I start looking, I will figure out what I want. I know I have some some vintage stickers that I've been hanging on to, like, you know, stuff like that probably needs to be used. You know, these are sort of the same vintage, or have the same look to them. So it depends. To be honest, I don't know. In any of the other, or in the other accordions that I've done, I basically don't really think that there's going to be a heck of a lot of journaling happening. Not by me, and, you know, if I were to offer them for sale, probably not by the recipient either. Again, because these things do look nice just sitting on a shelf, sitting on a coffee table. So you may not want your deepest, darkest, brightest thought. Okay, I've got an uneven surface here, but basically, you know, sitting kind of like so, open as an invitation to come look at me. You can't get particularly bulky either, because of course, if you were to do a closure at the end, you know, just something very simple to slip on and off, you know, there isn't much space for bulk. So think about your most beautiful, flattest items. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. You have homework, I have homework, and we'll definitely see you in the next one. Bye-bye.